Revealed, 12 supernatural signs of your heavenly past life confirmed by divine experience. In the small, idyllic village of Harmony Hollow, Margaret felt a stirring in her soul as she entered the chapel, a warm glow emanating from the flickering candles at the altar. Today was not just another evening of prayer, it was a candlelit vigil that would forever change her life. The air crackled with spiritual intensity, thick with expectation. As she gazed upon the ancient wooden altar, decorated with fragrant flowers and glimmering candles, a tidal wave of déjà vu washed over her. Memories, swirling like golden autumn leaves, beckoned her to delve deeper into the mystery of her existence. Her fellow congregants, faithful but skeptical faces, surrounded her, including her husband, Thomas, who cast worried glances in her direction. They didn't know about the vivid dreams that had haunted her nights, dreams tinged with the colors of a forgotten past, a past that seemed to ripple through her being like a gentle embrace, inviting her to question everything. As the prayers lifted heavenward, an extraordinary miracle unfolded before her eyes. A child's laughter rang out, echoing in the chapel, but it wasn't just any child. It was a sound that resonated with her heart, as if it carried whispers from a time long lost. Instantly, her mind flickered back to a sunlit meadow, where laughter and love intertwined like vines around her soul. Her heart warmed, tears gathering as she stood at the crossroads of faith and curiosity. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each new revelation, Margaret found herself grappling with the possibility of reincarnation, a once absurd notion now set ablaze in her spirit. A soft wind rustled the petals around the altar, whispering secrets of divine origins. Each rustle felt like an angel's hymn, calling her closer to the heart of her existence. Among her fellow believers, surrounded by love, doubt loomed large, fearful that these thoughts would fracture her family's unity. However, the tapestry of signs continued to unravel. She noticed 12 unique moments lately that connected her history to a celestial story. The vibrant hues in the sunset ignited emotions she couldn't pinpoint, each color imbued with profound significance. A rustling tree branch timed perfectly with the pastor's words during another service pulsed through her, as if heaven was unveiling a divine map, leading her home. On the horizon of understanding, Margaret prepared for that pivotal Sunday service, a gathering infused with anticipation and palpable energy. The pastor's voice rose and fell, weaving a narrative of faith and healing that danced in the air, wrapping around her heart. As testimonies spilled forth, she found kindred spirits, neighbors recounting miracles that echoed her own elusive encounters. Was she alone in this? With hope swelling in her chest and trepidation in her heart, Margaret stood, no longer just a participant but a seeker of truth in a world of miracles. Would she emerge renewed, her faith emboldened, or would her journey shake the foundations of everything she knew? As the congregation prayed, questions hung thick, shimmering like the candlelight, a call to seek the truth and embolden her heart as she stumbled toward the divine revelation waiting just beyond the veil. What wondrous secrets did the universe hold, and would she dare to uncover them? As the candles flickered softly in the chapel, Margaret felt the weight of her own uncertainty hovering nearby. The pastor's voice sang over her, praising love and healing. Yet her thoughts drifted inward, spiraling into the unknown. What if the child's laughter was more than just a memory? What if it was a divine message, bridging realms of time and space? With every prayer lifted, a persistent question tugged at her heart: who had she been? Thomas glanced at her, confusion marking his face. She could see he wanted to help but felt helpless. Margaret's soul danced between the sacred and the mysterious, igniting in her a spark of courage. Today was the day for revelation, wasn't it? She felt the pull of something greater, and it urged her forth. Around her, the congregation vibrated with conviction, sharing stories of miracles that felt almost too sacred to grasp. As she listened, a woman rose, trembling with fervor. Her words spilled forth weaving tales of hope, of visions, dreams that enveloped her like the warm embrace of summer. Margaret's heart raced, recognizing her own longing mirrored in this woman's testimony. Could this divine connection extend beyond the scene, beyond the bounds of this earthly life they shared? The atmosphere turned electric, sparking a sense of unity in their shared quest for understanding. Margaret found herself on the edge of her seat, yearning to understand the divine threads connecting them all. She thought of the 12 signs she sensed buried in her heart, the whispers that beckoned her to dig deeper. Just then, another voice rang out, a man with a humble presence but a fiery passion. He spoke of a dream that revealed seasons of rebirth, a blossom enduring the frost, a truth echoing through ages past. With each word, Margaret felt the invisible chains that held her back start to crack. The concept of reincarnation felt less terrifying now, interwoven with the sacred, presenting a profound truth about life and faith. The chapel swelled with collective energy. Margaret closed her eyes, envisioning herself blossoming from a seed, often buried but eventually reaching toward the light. What if the key to her past was a prayer, a moment of acceptance? A chance to let the divine remind her of who she had been, and how her past might shape her future. A soft whisper crept into her heart, affirming her desire to seek not just understanding but a transformative experience. She imagined opening that mystical door. Would joy light her path, or would shadows linger? As she opened her eyes, finding herself encircled by faith and warmth, something began to shift inside her. She felt less alone. Hope poured in, washing away the apprehension. Together with the congregation, their prayers formed a vibrant tapestry as they surrendered worries to the divine. Then the moment came. A child's laughter burst forth once more, echoing through the chapel, this time accompanied by an unexpected breeze. It carried an aura of familiarity, mingling with the scents of candles and blossoms. The warmth enveloped her. Margaret stared at the flickering lights, feeling something new bubbling within her, a flame of faith igniting her spirit. She knew she couldn't ignore the echoes of her soul any longer. But she also understood she stood upon an unmarked path, where each step could lead to undiscovered truths. What awaited her in the shadows of that door? The undeniable mystery of her past flickered just out of reach, promising a revelation that could redefine everything she believed. As faith deepened, Margaret took a breath, her spirit anchored by divine hope. Would she gather the courage to step forward and explore the uncharted terrain of her existence? How far would she go, and what light might she find? The next chapter of her life awaited. Margaret took a step back, her heart pounding. The chapel faded slightly around her, but she could feel the stir of something powerful pulling at her core. The flickering candlelight danced in unison with her own heartbeat, painting the walls with whispers of past and promise. That in that serene sanctuary, she closed her eyes once more. She needed clarity. She felt the weight of prayers that had come before, those spoken softly by others, and her own. Did they share the same yearning? Were they all navigating this spiritual labyrinth together? As the room filled with the sound of the congregation, she was drawn to the corners of her spirit's memory, a kaleidoscope of experiences she had not fully embraced. The man's dream about the blossom resurfaced, a powerful metaphor of rebirth that resonated inside her. Stay open, stay alert, a voice in her heart urged. A sense of profound significance radiated from the gatherings of faith all around her. Could it be that these ordinary moments were the very foundations of extraordinary experiences? A gentle breeze caressed her cheek, as cool as morning light filtering through the leaves. It sparked a memory, faint yet vivid, running through fields, laughter following like a shadow. Past lives calling her name. The twinkling laughter of children echoed in her mind, a melody that transcended time, weaving between the veil of her existence. Suddenly, another voice rose from the congregation, a high-pitched tone that sounded like a bell. A young girl, maybe 8 or 9, with bright eyes sparkling like stars. She had her hands clasped tight and seemed disconnected from the world around her, completely engrossed in her revelation. I can see colors. She declared, her tiny voice cutting through the air. I can see the colors of our hearts. The love, the dreams, the sadness, they all shine. They tell our stories. A hush fell over the room, and Margaret felt the power of the little girl's words. It was as if a veil had been lifted. She imagined all the stories held within her community. Each heart glimmering with experiences, both past and present. What if they were all connected, a tapestry of shared history, learning, and growth? The pastor nodded solemnly, encouraging the light of that moment to flourish. He began to pray aloud, urging everyone to open their hearts to the possibilities, to seek the divine guidance prepared for them. With every phrase, Margaret felt the stirring in her chest grow stronger. Maybe it was her time to dive deeper, to search for the 12 signs, truths hidden in her heart waiting patiently for her to unlock them. This sacred quest would require courage. She could feel her spirit bracing itself to journey forth. What awaits us on the other side? She thought, her pulse quickening with excitement and fear. As the prayers encircled her, wrapping her in serenity, she sensed that she was already walking forward. Would she dare to seek, to engage fully in this divine tapestry? Such mysteries loomed ahead like a good book waiting to be read, like the flames of hope flickering in the twilight of her soul. Margaret took a deep breath, feeling the warmth spread through her being. "Open my eyes, Lord," she whispered, longing for clarity. "Show me the way." The laughter of the child echoed in her ears once again. This time it felt like an invitation, urging her further into the unknown. Her heart soared with possibility, each beat a new determination to step beyond the door of her understanding into the enigmatic embrace of the divine. What treasures did the universe have for her? And who was she truly at her core? Each question draped in the sacredness of discovery, waiting to be revealed. She smiled gently, welcoming the journey ahead. Margaret opened her eyes slowly, the whispers of prayer still lingering in the air around her. She shifted her gaze back to the young girl, whose small frame now glowed in the candlelight. The child's words hung in the atmosphere like a sweet melody, wrapping around Margaret's spirit, urging her to look beyond the surface and delve into the depth of her own heart. "Colors of our hearts," she murmured to herself, pondering the implications. Each color, each hue, could they truly unveil the secrets of her soul? She felt a gentle nudging within, as if the Holy Spirit was beckoning her to respond. With determination, Margaret focused on the flickering candle flames, their dance a small reflection of the larger spiritual choreography surrounding her. She imagined the colors shimmering from her heart, appearing like petals unfurling in spring. What would they reveal, if only she dared to see? The pastor's voice broke through her thoughts as he concluded his prayer. "Let us embrace our journey with open hearts, ready to see what lies before us." His words resonated like a bell ringing clear through thick fog, pulling her attention back to the present moment. Margaret felt the weight of the congregation's gazes all around her, yet instead of feeling overwhelmed, a serene calm washed over her. Perhaps this was the sacred connection she had yearned for, a community of seekers, all in pursuit of understanding, of love, of divine revelation. She glanced around, absorbing the faces of the believers, each one a reflection of the Creator's artistry, every life a testimony waiting to be shared. A murmur rippled through the assembly, and as she turned her gaze back to the young girl, she noticed the child's eyes were now closed, a look of intense concentration on her face. The little girl's whispers danced into the air like soft breezes. "You all shine so brightly." Murmurs of agreement swirled through the congregation, and for Margaret, it was as if time stood still. She could see it then, the radiant colors flowing between everyone, illuminating paths joining their lives together. Was it only her imagination, or was there a tangible spiritual energy binding them? With newfound excitement, she stepped forward slightly, curiosity firing her heart. "Lord," she began to whisper softly, "if there is more to discover, show me the truth that awaits." The response was instantaneous. A warmth enveloped her, as if the divine was wrapping her in a cloak of love and safety. Secrets seemed to pulse through the air, and she was acutely aware of her own heartbeat, syncing with the heartbeat of the sacred space. The little girl opened her eyes again, and they sparkled with knowledge that felt ancient yet pure. "You're searching for your colors, aren't you?" she asked, tilting her head in a knowing manner. Margaret nodded, feeling exposed yet embraced by the child's innocent insight. "Then let us search together." The girl clapped her tiny hands joyfully, as if inviting not just Margaret, but the entire chapel to embark on this journey of discovery. A sense of urgency filled the air. Together, Margaret echoed, her voice filling with conviction. "You're right. We need to explore this as a community." As she spoke, the congregation seemed to shift, sensing the call to action. Eyes lit up, and heads nodded in understanding. They were on the brink of something magnificent. What if the signs lay not only in their individual experiences, but also in their collective heartbeats? "Let us uncover what binds us," she said aloud, her spirit soaring. "Together we'll search for the wisdom and colors hidden within our stories." As the moments passed, she sensed a current within the room. It swelled, wrapping tightly around them, spirit mingling with spirit, faith glancing off faith. A holy anticipation hung in the air, almost tangible. What would be the first sign? What truths would they dare to confront together? Margaret's heart raced with excitement. The journey had begun, revealing both the blessing and challenge of uncharted territories. As the pastor invited everyone to share their experiences, Margaret felt the electric vibration of divine connection, a promise pulsating with life, waiting to be unveiled. But deep within, a question lingered: would she be ready to face the colors that would come alive in her heart? She inhaled deeply, the scent of the candles mixing with incense, preparing her spirit for what lay ahead. The air vibrated with promise. What would happen next? The room fell silent as the pastor gestured toward the congregation, urging them to share their stories. Margaret's heart pounded, a mix of nervousness and excitement swirling within. What stories would emerge? What colors might they see together in one another's hearts? A man in the back stood up, his hair tinged with gray yet his voice rich with warmth. "Years ago, I lost my way. I wandered through darkness, chasing shadows. But one day, in a moment of surrender, I felt a light wrap around me." His voice trembled with the weight of emotion. It illuminated everything: the regrets, the pain, all the mistakes. "And with that light, I found love, I found grace." As the man spoke, Margaret could almost see the colors swirling around him. Deep blues merged with golden yellows, creating a tapestry of transformation. Others began to nod, eyes shimmering, their own memories responding to his story. A young woman stood next, her voice like a soft breeze. "I stumbled into faith while battling illness. In my weakest moments, when hope felt distant, I began to feel a lightness, a presence. It felt as if the prayers of those I loved surrounded me, lifting my spirit." Tears pooled in the corners of her eyes, creating a powerful echo of empathy within the congregation. Margaret felt her own heart swell. Each tale was unlocking something deeper, not just in them, but also within her. The spirit soared in the room. A rhythm emerged with each story shared, as if their laughter and sorrows were weaving together a great symphony of divine revelation. With each voice, more colors surfaced, peeling back the layers of the past to uncover the beauty of the present. Margaret felt an urge to share, to lay bare her own journey. "I too," she began, her voice shaky yet growing stronger. "There have been times I felt lost, drowning in uncertainty. But it's moments like this where we connect that remind me I am never alone." A hush fell over the room, as if awaiting her next words. "I believe there are colors in our hearts that we have yet to discover together. Maybe our struggles are not just ours, they are threads weaving a larger story." A ripple of agreement danced through the congregation. Encouraged, a woman holding a baby now spoke. "When I held my child for the first time, I saw a flash of vivid orange, like a sunset. It hit me: this was new life, new purpose. Suddenly, my struggles faded in the light of this love. The colors danced a new reality." Her joy lit the room, sparking laughter and warmth. Realizations cascaded around them, bouncing from heart to heart, igniting connections that transcended individual experiences. Margaret witnessed this marvelous interplay. The room pulsed with a sacred energy, a divine invitation to see and be seen, to weave their lives together in a vibrant tapestry of stories colored by grace. But just as the excitement peaked, a sudden stillness enveloped them. The little girl, who sat cross-legged before them, closed her eyes again, deep in concentration. "The colors are starting to speak. They have secrets to share," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Was she perceiving something beyond their understanding? Margaret leaned closer, captivated. What could the child see? She could feel the weight of history and hope suspended in the air. The anticipation shimmered, urging them to listen intently. The atmosphere buzzed with heavenly anticipation. What reveal would unfold from this innocent wisdom? Margaret's spirit tingled with divine urgency. What do they say? She whispered to the child, willing to open her heart to whatever revelation awaited them. The room echoed with unspoken prayers. Would they dare to unlock the mysteries concealed in each other's colors? And what truths would emerge from the luminous essence of their shared journey? The answers hovered tantalizingly out of reach. What awaited them in their collective exploration? The little girl took a deep breath, as if gathering the whispers of 1,000 unseen voices. They say love is the bridge, she murmured, eyes still closed. The observing adults leaned in, mesmerized by her innocence and the weight of her words. A warm hush enveloped them, like the first light of dawn breaking through a cloudy sky. Margaret could feel her heart skip a beat. It was an invitation to go deeper, to explore together, relinquishing their fears and uncertainties for the sake of something greater. Love is the bridge, the girl repeated, her voice echoing softly in the sacred space. It carries us when we are weak and connects us when we feel alone. In that moment, Margaret could practically see the bridge in her mind's eye, a luminous arch made of vibrant colors, stretching across a chasm of doubt and anxiety, leading to a place of unity and peace. Each story shared was a plank on that bridge, contributing strength, allowing them to walk hand in hand toward healing and understanding. The congregation was drawn into a realm of reflection. Margaret's thoughts began to whirl like a gentle breeze. How often did they isolate their struggles, believing they were burdens meant to be carried alone? The little girl's words hung in the air, a sacred promise to transform their pain into connection. An older gentleman rose, his face lined with experiences. I used to think love was a feeling, something to acquire. But perhaps it's more of a choice, he said, his voice gaining confidence. To love is to build, to stand side by side even when storms come. It's not just for the joyful days, it's in the midst of the storm that we really find our strength. Nods rippled through the congregation as tears began to flow freely, tears of understanding, of shared human experience. Margaret felt the wave of emotion. When they chose to love, they invited in the divine, allowing God to mold their colors into a masterpiece. The little girl smiled, sensing the shift, a knowing glimmer in her eye. The colors are getting brighter. They want to swirl together, but we need to share more. There are more secrets waiting. A spark ignited within Margaret. She discerned a calling to be a part of this vibrant tapestry emerging before her. What if we each shared something we are holding? Something we fear or feel ashamed of? The suggestion resonated in the stillness, hanging palpably in the air. Another voice lifted from the back, a woman whose face was creased with years of silent struggle. I've held on to guilt for so long it has clouded my heart. But maybe, her voice trembled, maybe letting it go would lighten my colors. A murmur of agreement rose up, hearts responding to the vulnerability. Piece by piece, they began to share, pieces of fear, grief, and shame transformed into expressions of hope. The room became a sacred sanctuary of openness, where burdens dissipated under the warmth of unveiled love. The atmosphere thickened with intent. Margaret could see it now, each confession a stroke of paint on the canvas, a unique contribution to the masterpiece formed by their lives intertwined. The little girl sat cross-legged, a beacon of innocence amid the swirl of colors emerging in the room. Suddenly, the lights above flickered. The energy shifted, heightening with anticipation. God wants to show us something, a voice whispered, eyes fluttering wide with wonder. Margaret's heart raced. What would they discover together? How would this moment weave their stories into a broader narrative, one that went beyond time and space? The divine secret beckoned from the other side of consciousness, waiting for them to grasp it. What luminous revelation awaited them just beyond the veil of their whispered fears? Would they be willing to embrace the unknown, unlocking layers of divine magic hidden within their colorful hearts? As the lights flickered playfully, a hush fell over the room. Margaret felt her breath quicken, the air thick with anticipation, tinged with something sacred. It was almost tangible, like the atmosphere before a storm, electric and charged. The little girl beamed, her innocence cutting through the tension. What if God is waiting for us to open our hearts wider? She proposed, her eyes twinkling with mischief and wisdom. Her words hung, teasing the air with possibility. One by one, congregants leaned closer, the bridge of love growing more intricate with shared emotions. A man with a soft voice, held tightly by the chains of his past, stood. I've lived in shadows for too long. I thought I had to carry my regrets alone. He paused. But what if sharing them brings light instead? A ripple of murmurs spread across the room. Margaret sensed the shift, hearts were eager to share, to release their burdens. What if, she whispered, what if it's through these stories that we find the colors we need to complete our bridge? The notion sparked a flicker of hope. The room seemed to breathe. A voice emerged from behind Margaret, laden with uncertainty. I wanted to be perfect to fit in. But I've realized I was hiding my true self. The man's gaze brightened. If love connects us, maybe I can embrace who I really am. Laughter broke out, warm and unguarded, filling the air with new life. In that shared openness, love glistened like sunlight on water. The gentle laughter echoed like a song, a chorus of souls tapping into their true essence, snippets of truth woven into vibrancy. Margaret looked around, drinking in the moment. Each confession chiseled away pieces of doubt, revealing light beneath. It was reminiscent of clay taking shape under the potter's hands. Each unique imperfection contributed to the beauty of the whole. Then, as though the heavens were wide open, a voice interrupted the ripple of testimonies. Can we really transform our scars into stories of strength? The question hung heavy, capturing everyone's attention. Eyes turned towards a woman in the corner, her breath unsteady. Every mark tells a story, she began solemnly. I thought they were signs of my failures. But what if they are markers of my journey? Proof that I've endured and survived. A hush fell again, as if the universe held its breath. Each person took a moment to reflect on their own markers. Margaret could feel the emotion swelling, a tide of redemption rising within the circle. Let us turn our pain into power, the woman continued, almost ignited by her realization. With love as our bridge, we can soar together instead of crumbling under the weight of our past. Her words resonated deep, stirring hearts to dream of healing. The atmosphere transformed, intertwining with a divine presence that felt almost palpable. Margaret glanced at the girl who had begun this journey, her small form radiating joy. In that instant, Margaret understood, they were not just painting a picture, they were sculpting a future. Then, a gentle wind rushed through the room, caressing their faces as if heaven itself had swept down to touch them. It carried whispers of encouragement, reverberating through the hearts gathered there. Could they feel it? It was life-stirring, a promise unfolding. Margaret closed her eyes, inhaling the sacred essence of the moment. Together, she prayed silently. United in love, we can be vessels of transformation. Suddenly, a deep voice broke the stillness. What if, in our stories, we find God's own story reflected back at us? The question reverberated, inviting them to delve deeper. What was the original story God had penned in their hearts? What divine legacy awaited revelation, hidden in the colors of their experience? The room held its breath, as if the air itself were woven with the sacred threads of their collective experiences. Eyes sparkled with curiosity and surprise. Margaret felt a tremor of something greater reverberating within her spirit. Wasn't it true that each life interlaced with another, echoing through time and space? A soft, hesitant voice broke the silence. A young woman with eyes like stormy skies stood up. I once thought my past was a map of lost opportunities. But, what if it's a treasure map, guiding me to my purpose? Her trembling hands conveyed a passion seeking release. What if our mistakes are merely stepping stones, not stumbling blocks? Margaret felt the yearning pulse of hope surge through the room. It was contagious, weaving through hearts like a sacred dance. They were discovering something profound together, a divine connection that stretched beyond individual pains and illuminated the path to healing. the man who had first shared his story stood again, his expression brightening. Yes. We are all entwined in God's plan. Each scar can become a testament to perseverance. He glanced around, eyes beckoning for a response. Let us share our fables, our lessons. Each story can spark a spark in another's heart. The atmosphere shifted, an electric aura of faith wrapping around them. Individuals began rising to their feet, a gentle wave of voices merging, creating a symphony of vulnerability. Margaret watched as memories poured forth like a river, cascading over stones of doubt. The testimonies of hurt turned to declarations of triumph. I lost my father, an older gentleman remarked. But in my grief, I found the strength to comfort others. A woman chimed in, her voice quivering with emotion. My battle with addiction illuminated a path toward faith I never knew existed. It led me to here, to you. With every story shared, Margaret felt a layer of spiritual weight lift not just from them, but from herself too. It was an exhilarating realization. She was no longer an observer but part of this vast tapestry of love and resilience. They began to clasp their hands, creating a circle, a physical embodiment of unity that felt almost celestial. As they drew closer, Margaret sensed a warmth enveloping them, like sunlight pouring through the clouds at dawn. Their joined hands sparkled, a visible manifestation of their collective faith. Suddenly, the girl who had first sparked their journey spoke once more, her sweet voice piercing through the weightiness of the moment. Can we ask God together? What story is hidden in our lives that can change the world? A hush fell as sincerity ignited a spark of devotion among them. They bowed their heads and began to pray softly at first, then with fervor. Each voice intertwined, a chorus lifting toward the heavens. In that sacred vulnerability, they sought divine insight, craving clarity for their entwined paths forward. Tears welled in Margaret's eyes as she felt a stirring within, a soft whisper of assurance that they were indeed led by a divine hand. Just as she began to discover the answers within her own heart, a brilliant light flashed before them, filling the space with warmth and radiance. It felt as if God Himself were gracing them with His presence. Have faith, little ones, the voice of a gentle spirit resonated through the room, reverberating through their very souls. Your stories hold the keys to unlock the future you seek. As the echoes faded, Margaret realized they were being summoned to a greater purpose, a divine legacy waiting to be unveiled. But what awaited them on this journey ahead? What truths would emerge from the blend of their lives painted across the vast canvas of faith? Could it truly be that each experience, each moment shared, was woven into something larger than they could comprehend? The anticipation hung, heavier than ever, as she waited for the answer to reveal itself in the journey ahead. The light still shimmered, wrapping around them like a holy embrace. Soft whispers danced on the edges of their minds, calling each of them closer to the truth hidden within. Margaret closed her eyes, allowing the warmth to cradle her spirit. It was a sweetness she had longed for but never quite grasped. Let us listen, she thought. What is God revealing in this moment? With renewed energy, the room shifted, filled with a hum of expectation. It was as if the air vibrated with divine possibilities, and every heart beat in unison, yearning for understanding. One by one, they opened their hearts like flowers to the sun, inviting an outpouring of stories that delved deeper. I used to think being angry was strength, spoke a man with furrowed brows and calloused hands. But with every blow-up, I hurt the ones I love. It took darkness for me to see the light. Tears glided down his cheeks, marking the soil of his struggle. Now, I wear my scars like armor, reminding me of grace. The group inhaled deeply, their collective breath a testament to the relief that came from confession. Margaret could see the burdens lift. Each story served as a bridge over troubled waters, connecting one heart to another, one soul to the divine. That a woman stood, her spirit shining through her shyness. One day, she began, I had lost everything, my job, my home, my hope. But in that void, I found something unexpected, a chance to rebuild. Her eyes sparkled like stars awakening. In giving, I found purpose. I feed the hungry and remind them how valued they are. In my emptiness, God poured love back into me. As each person spoke, Margaret noticed profound revelations broke loose, like chains falling off. The air hung thick with humility and hope. They were not merely recounting sorrow, they were crafting a mosaic of redemption. Their words flowed like rivers, washing over old pain and nurturing the land where new growth could thrive. Then, a question surged through Margaret's heart, daring to be voiced. What if we gather these stories and share them with the world? What lives could be changed by our truth? Her proposition hung in the air, sparking faces to light up with inspiration. They began to envision what could unfold if they dared to step beyond their closed circles. The ripple effect of their collective faith could weave into something beyond their imagination, a powerful testament to God's transformative love. Suddenly, the girl with the stormy eyes spoke again, her voice steady but radiant. Imagine, friends, if each person we touch becomes part of this divine legacy, their burdens lifted and hearts ignited. Our stories aren't just ours, they belong to a greater good. A rumble of agreement swept through the gathered, each heart roaring with affirmation. Their hands clasped tighter, a fortress of hope rising among them. They shared a moment of silence, an invitation to connect with this divine vision, to let it steep in their spirits. Margaret felt it in her bones, a growing anticipation. What lay ahead was more significant than anything they had previously encountered. They stood at the doorway of something grand. In this convergence of lives, they had unearthed not only personal treasures but communal revelations. As their prayers crescendoed back toward heaven, the air shimmered anew, filled with possibilities. May we be instruments of change, Margaret whispered, knowing deep within that their stories had the power to transform. But, as they basked in the sweet afterglow of faith, a deep curiosity nagged at her. What exactly would they discover when the world met their truths? The journey ahead bristled with mystery. Would they be ready for the impact it could make? As the warm candlelight flickered, bathing the chapel in a sacred glow, hope soared within Margaret's heart. She stood with her hands clasped tightly, eyes reflecting the collective anticipation swirling in the air. The gentle revelations she felt earlier now surged like a glorious tide, spilling promises of healing and connection. They were on the brink of something monumental. The bridge of love they envisioned started to take shape in their hearts. Margaret looked around, each face illuminated by faith, each story coiling like sacred vines around the altar of their shared experience. What if we take a leap together? She spoke, voice ringing out like a bell. What if we become the custodians of our truths? Can our journey of discovery spread beyond these walls? Her words hung in the charged silence, breathing life into uncharted possibilities. An image blossomed in her mind, an overflowing tapestry woven from each individual story, unraveled threads that turned to golden strands of resilience. Would they be brave enough to step forward and share these tales, to let their struggles become instruments of transformation for others? As if reading her thoughts, the little girl with bright, sparkling eyes chimed in, I can feel the light stretching, like a rainbow reaching across the sky, connecting us all. The congregation leaned in closer, alive with the promise of what might come next. Margaret felt the warmth of their hearts beating in sync, an echo of love, a chorus of hope. Would their stories, woven together, illuminate the paths of those still wandering in darkness? It was a beautiful vision, almost ethereal. As they exchanged glances filled with understanding, a man at the back, previously hesitant, rose again. When I thought all was lost, I found my strength. Letting go of fear has become my journey. If I can share my truth, make someone feel less alone, then my scars are worth it. His longing resonated with Margaret, drawing circles of affirmation from those who heard him. Suddenly the pastor stepped forward, his presence electric, rallying the spirit in the room. Friends, this isn't just a gathering. It's a movement. A calling to take what we've shared and send it out like ripples in a pond. We can uplift others who are struggling in silence. His words stirred something deep within Margaret. A fire ignited and blazed higher. With newfound courage, she said, let us host a gathering. A time to share these testimonies, to reach out beyond our village. We can create a space where healing flows and lives change, where truth is louder than fear. Our colors can paint the world. Cheering erupted, a wave of enthusiasm sweeping through. Kindred spirits, ignited by purpose, began voicing ideas. We could write a book. Record our stories to share online. Let us open our doors to the community. Each suggestion sent ripples of excitement amplifying the shared resolve, surge after surge of passionate commitment. As the room pulsated with shared dreams, Margaret felt threads of belonging bind them all together tighter, binding strength within vulnerability. Their collective hearts swelled, spurred into action by the vibrant essence of love. I believe we are being called not just to heal ourselves, but also to be the light for others, Margaret declared, her voice bursting with passion. It was true, they were all vessels of divine storytelling, encouraged by grace to reach out. The little girl raised her hand like an innocent beacon. Love is the bridge. Let us build it strong. In her clear, pure voice, she rallied everyone to the revelation that their shared venture would transcend their individual experiences, shining forth the radiant essence of Goddess love. With this commitment sewn together in their hearts, they lifted their hands, creating a tableau of community, holding space for each other, and breathing breaths filled with intention. As their hands touched, Margaret felt an electrifying warmth course through them all, a visceral reminder that this was not merely a collective of souls, they had become one in purpose. A soft breeze swirled in again, carrying the scent of the candles and fresh blossoms, a sign of divine affirmation. Margaret's heart raced with excitement, gratitude washing over her like a gentle wave. Together, they were entering new territory, united in faith, love, and the shared purpose of transforming their pain into purpose. In that chapel, under the watchful gaze of flickering candles, Margaret glimpsed the truth of who she was, a servant of God stepping into her authentic self. Together, we can make waves, she whispered, resolute to embrace the journey ahead. They had begun an extraordinary adventure, driven by the conviction that every story mattered and every heart needed to be heard. And just as the exuberant laughter from the joyful children echoed beyond, so too would their mission reverberate far and wide. They were ready to step out in boldness, to share their colors, and to invite the world to be touched by the transforming power of love. Now is the time for you to join this beautiful journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread this message of hope. Comment with your reactions and testimonies about the ending. Your words could inspire someone else. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of divine love and connection. You need to show your support right now. Don't wait even one more second. True servants of God understand the significance of spreading light in this world. Let us ignite the flame together.